Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we review Midnight. Great title, used quite often. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let me introduce the crew, starting off with Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Good to be here.
You are, sir. I'm glad to have you back. We missed you.
Good to be here.
Yes.
Good to see y'all.
Also joining us is the award-winning filmmaker, Christopher G. Mohr. CGM to some of
you. I'm doing wonderful. I'm glad to see Jeff back in the fray so we can talk movies.
Yes. And tonight we are reviewing, like I said, Midnight. Unfortunately, I will just be hosting. I was unable to get the screener to work for me, so it's going to be between Christopher G. Mohr and Jeff.
So you're going to be the referee.
It's the Mohrs. I'm going to be the referee, right? In this corner, we have
one of us spells it right, and the other one doesn't.
Yes, and we'll let you decide which one's which, because it's all a thing. All right, so what we're going to do is give our first impression. That first impression will be spoiler-free. Then we'll dive into a discussion, and that discussion will have spoilers as we get into it. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And, of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you want to help us out, it's easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share with a friend. And it will do wonders for us, and we will thank you greatly. Yes. And, of course, above all, we want to hear your comments down below. Thank you. Let's take a look at the CAD. Midnight from Dread Presents, available on demand April 5th, 2022. Written and directed by Kwon Oh-sung. And that's not how you pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to go with it. Cast includes Shin Ki-jo. No? Yes, maybe. Wee Ha-Jun. Why do I do this to myself? Gil Hae-young, Park Hoon, and Kim Hae-young. I feel like I was about 50% on.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure you're close.
Maybe. All right. Somebody's yelling at me somewhere. And I'll never make it to South Korea now. All right. Fear grips the country South Korea as a serial killer stalks its residents. Kyung-mi, a deaf woman, is out late with her mother when she stumbles upon a young woman bleeding out in a dark alley. Now a witness to the killer's brutal crime, Kyung-mi is being ruthlessly hunted down. Will she survive or become a victim? And that is the question. So this is a crime thriller, is it, guys? Is it a crime thriller? Serial killer, on the edge. All right. Well, let's find out what the first impressions were. We'll start off with the one and only Jeff Mohr.
I enjoyed this a lot, although so I feel like it made me think of other Asian films that just like go over the top, and I'm not. I guess I am comparing them, but sort of like Train to Busan, or I lost the other one. It was a South Korean film. Indonesia, like The Raid, where something, it just keeps coming at you. And in this one, what keeps coming at you is running up and down the streets. There's lots and lots and lots of running. Now, on one hand, I thought, my God, that's a lot of running. Could we cut some of this out? But I don't know. For me, I was kind of enjoying it. I thought it added some tension, and there was enough other things going on during most of the running that made it interesting. I really liked the way that the main character, who is deaf, as mentioned in the synopsis, and her mother, who's also deaf, how that affects the story and how they're treated by other people, rightly or wrongly. And abused by other people, especially our chief bad guy. So how that person managed to make use of that and turn that into his advantage, even when there are people there that should have known what was going on. So anyway, I enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it, and I liked the ending. It's got, some tropes that we see in South Korean films that Joseph Perry turned me on to that have been pretty consistent. One is bumbling cops, and the other one is sort of syrupy sweet endings. So anyway, I enjoyed it. I'll stop there.
Syrupy sweet endings. I like that. All right, Christopher G. Mohr, what was your first impression of Midnight?
I'm wondering if my perception of this film has more to do with it being the country that it's coming from, because there's parts of it I like and parts of it I hate, and I feel like I think in some ways the performances of the girl and her mom are good when it comes to their characters being deaf characters and stuff, but there are times where their reactions and responses to things or how they interact really annoyed me because of there's certain situations where they could have easily just written something on a piece of paper or something that could have conveyed stuff instead of them trying to convey it, miming it or something for people. And I also, it just annoyed me because you have these characters who are just so, and maybe it's just culturally, maybe that's part of it, because and also the tone was kind of weird. The tone was kind of went two different places in the very beginning, because there's like a scene between the one guy who's looking for his sister throughout the whole film. When he's interacting with his sister, it feels like I'm watching a sitcom. and it was so goofily done. And then you go to the serious stuff, and it's so two different tones. And maybe that's part of those tropes you talked about, Jeff, that I've seen in some cinema. But I feel like I've seen other Korean cinema where everything's consistent across the board. I think it's okay to have like happy endings or having certain things happen, but that the goofy sensibility that didn't go along with the weird stuff happening, And maybe I'm just mad because of how the characters are treated, because they're almost treated like rejects of the society, or crazy in certain scenes. But yeah, certain scenarios where I just felt like I guess I wanted the characters to fight back more instead of being so like, "Ooh, I'm sorry," type things, and that annoyed me. And maybe that's maybe because I'm used to American cinema, certain things, and I don't know. But I feel like the killer dude was good. And how he's so good at manipulating, especially when it comes to people who were seen a different way. But then there's certain scenes that I don't know. I felt like there's a scene where I guess it's supposed to show that how people take advantage of her that one character when she's at a dinner with her coworkers or whatever, and she's perceiving things differently while everybody else is perceiving something different. And I feel like it was kind of obvious that she was kind of treated differently. I don't think there's certain things I think needed to be needed for that. But yeah, there's other scenes that are very like, oh gosh, how are they going to get out of this situation? And I think, but I felt like there's characters, I'm not sure how they've been able to exist in this society so far, because it just, because they had certain things like, it was kind of interesting to use the technology and stuff, but I don't know. I guess I'm kind of torn about it, because there's certain things I didn't like. I didn't like the way it played out, and the bumbling cops were just, those cops just irritated me to no end, because this movie could have ended, I guess, earlier if they weren't so idiotic. But yeah, I don't know. Midnight didn't really strike it for me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That last little bit might be, due to social commentary over there.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That's why I'm thinking. That's why I'm kind of torn. I don't know if it's just because of my American sensibility, and I want the women to fight back and be like this, and also just I felt like the portrayal of these deaf characters just felt like like they were so helpless, you know. And I know that you can have characters be in helpless situations. We just reviewed another movie with a person that was blind, and I think that treated it a little bit more with respect than this did. It just felt like they were just helpless. And maybe that's part of the point of it, how certain society, you know, if you're deaf, they just treat you differently. And maybe in Korea, maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
Well, I guess I didn't see it that way. I saw it as well. First off, you talked about how the brother and his sister getting ready to go out was kind of like a sitcom, but I thought that dinner scene was, you know, the businessman that they were supposed to be there to keep company, obviously, knew that she couldn't hear, so they were talking about her,
Yeah.
you know, and making jokes and lewd comments and stuff. And she seemed oblivious, but then at the end, she started talking to each one of them using sign language, and it seemed pretty obvious that she was doing the same thing right back at them. You know, she was telling them to screw off and go get effed and stuff like that while she was smiling. So I felt like she gave back, and she volunteered for that. I would assume to get more money. And I think part of the way they were treated might have a lot to do with that they were like in a lower class, you know, the places that they lived. And I've never been to South Korea, so I don't know what it's like, but lots and lots of very tight streets, almost I don't know if not quite slum like, but really dark and hidden, and lots of alleyways and things to run up and down. I thought the women did pretty good for themselves. The main way they were treated poorly is the cops, you know, when they're in a police station and the cops can speak and hear, and the bad guy can speak and hear, the bad guy's controlling the story.
Yeah.
The cops aren't getting the full story from the two deaf women. And they don't even know for sure what's the other guy's telling them, you know. So I found that as being a, you know, it's sort of similar to being in a country where you don't speak the language.
Yeah.
And people are talking about, I just listened to a thing about Amanda Knox in Italy, and how she was there to learn to speak Italian, and this big crime happened and all this chaos is going on, and she's trying to find out what's going on, and she can't get anybody to stop and translate things for her. And then even when she was questioned by the police, a lot of times there wasn't an interpreter involved. So she's answering questions with partial understanding of what they're asking, and maybe using the wrong words in the answers. And so that's kind of the light I was seeing this in, was it's a tough situation. And they were trying to, you know, you get frantic and you forget to write stuff down. She did write some things down. And there was some texting going on that I think helped. But when you're in a frantic situation like that, and seemed like life or death at any second, every time they turned around, you know, they were just running like crazy. And I guess they didn't have, well, they had a car, but they had to park so far away that by the time you ran and got to the parked car, you could run across town. I guess that was something that bothered me a little bit. But I like the characters. We basically have those, what is it, 5 main characters: the brother and his sister, and the daughter and the mother, and the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think for me, I guess I just got angry just how they were treated, but at the same time, there are some really tense moments. There's a tense moment in like a parking garage. That's because it's like, if you can't hear if you're moving something, so the whole time I'm like, oh God, he's gonna hear that, you know. There's moments like that or even moments where, like, I guess for me, I felt, I guess I felt empathy, you know, because we have those situations where, like, what we do if you walked by an alley and someone threw a shoe out and you hear someone say, "Help me," what are you going to do? And for me, I would be nervous about that. But if I couldn't hear, I'd be even more nervous, because you don't there's even more like
She's not here.
anxiety around that situation.
Either,
So yeah, so that just shows how much of like so there's things like that I think really worked, and there's some really, I mean, and there's a really powerful scene where she's pleading for her life that I mean that's a really powerful acting scene for her where she's like, I just want to live. I haven't lived, you know, and things like that I think were very powerful. But I don't know. There's certain things that just kind of annoyed me, and maybe it's just me about like, maybe I'm just used to the American formula of like, you know, you need to have characters have more agency about certain things or to fight back more, and maybe that's just me injecting my own expectations, which I shouldn't do. But I think regardless of that, I still like certain parts of it, you know?
Yeah. Well, when you live in a country full of bumbling cops, which I know they're not all bumbling cops, but
well,
from their experience, it's like,
it might be.
I'm not going to go to the cops anymore. I'm just going to go home and hide, you know?
well, yeah, they just like, and it's almost like they just leave the police station open
enough of
for things to happen, you know?
Yeah. But I thought, one of the things I thought was, given all these nuances, that the characters made logical decisions. They made, or understandable decisions, I guess. Believable decisions might be the way to look at it in their actions. And it always irritates me when people do something that seems really illogical and not in their best interest. But in this one, it seems like everything was understandable, and I really liked. There's an arc in there too where the one woman who's missing, her brother, pretty much gives up the deaf girl to go try to save his sister.
That's one of those sort of weird, you know, decisions someone makes, you know. It's like you want to help this person, but if you have to choose between this stranger and your sister, what would you do? Right. And I can understand that sort of torn situation.
But then she turns around, the deaf girl, she turns around and makes a decision that puts herself at risk to save the guy's sister
instead of just leaving her, you know.
Right. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
So I think the way that it plays out, and you know, like we talked about earlier about how, you know, she plays into certain, she plays people for a fool, you know, like with the conversation, she kind of does that towards the end with how she deals with the main guy.
Yeah, no, and he's
because she could either be the crazy one, or she flips it on its head and makes him look like, you know. So, but yeah, and then I mean, there's this when she smiles, and it's like, okay, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, now you're making me warm up to this more, Jeff, because I guess I had to have somebody have a normal conversation about this, because I don't know. I guess sometimes I'm just like, I want characters, especially female characters in movies, to have more like. To fight back more, or instead of just being like run away from things, and also I guess it just made me mad the way people just treat these characters when it seems kind of, I don't know, I guess it seems kind of obvious this person is probably deaf and they should, you know, because there's a part where these people hand her back to him, and it's like, oh shit. But I will say that one moment where, because she didn't see his face because he's wearing a mask, which plays into their COVID stuff now.
Right.
But so when he shows up in that suit, you think, oh crap, you know, she doesn't realize it. But her mom is actually more observant of it than she is, because she's more gullible, I guess, in some respects.
Well, I think her mom has the maybe the she's feeling the creep vibe off this guy.
The creep vibe.
And the daughter's maybe not getting it yet, but I
like that. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap up this review. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And Jeff Mohr, sir, you are up first.
Well, like I said, get ready for a lot of running, but it's it's tension-filled running, because literally, like, oh my God, I need to go help this person over there. Run as fast as you can, and then that person might be running someplace else. So then but it works. I don't know, it works. I thought the acting was decent, was pretty good, especially the lead and the daughter that's deaf. The mother does a good job. They all do a good job, but especially the daughter in that scene you were talking about, Chris. Boy, favorite scene. Well, let's see. I'm giving this a 3.75 as well.
Okay. Nice.
And I'm trying to. I gotta take the since I'm going first, I'm taking the knife scene at the end because it fooled me.
Oh, it fooled me too.
So and I thought it was brilliant. Other than that guy was a half a step or a step ahead of him the whole way in manipulating the situation, and then she finally got ahead of him.
Stuck him good, huh? All right, Christopher G. Mohr, your final thoughts, your score, your favorite scene.
Yeah. Although I will say it's like, do the police did they not look at your ID when you make a statement about something? Because they missed so many opportunities to catch that guy. But yeah, I feel like this is if it's almost like a cooler Buffalo Bill character is driving around with his little neon van, and how he sort of manipulates people to think certain things. A little bit of Hannibal in there, I guess, just with the manipulation, because he's a huge manipulator. You know, there's even a part where he manipulates the girl into thinking that her mom is texting her. You know, things like that. I think just make him like, oh God, this is just how people can make people perceive you a certain way, or they make themselves to be the victim. And yeah, when somebody can be that kind of a chameleon, I think that makes the worst type of villain than them just being like, you automatically know this. It's sort of like the TV show Hannibal, how everybody thinks he's like the psychiatrist, but he's really the killer. But yeah, I think, you know, again, I had certain issues with just how certain female characters, but you know, not all characters have to be the same. But it does kind of annoy you when you watch this kind of film and you see the way people are perceived when it comes to being deaf and treating him almost like a pariah. Like, you know, this person's crazy, as opposed to they're just like everybody else trying to save up money to go on a vacation, you know? And I think, I even though the ending's kind of syrupy, I kind of like, you know, I like that kind of syrup.
No, I enjoyed it. I'm just
that didn't bother me, because I almost felt like it may play into her wishes, if you know what I mean. When she makes a certain plead, I feel like there might be something. I don't know. I feel like there might be something going on between him and her. But yeah, I don't know. I had certain issues with it, and I feel like I kind of wish. I feel like there's certain situations that would be less scary if they didn't put themselves into that, but it wouldn't be a horror movie if it didn't have that. So maybe I shouldn't be so critical. I'll give it. I mean, I'll give it a 3.25. I won't give it as high as Jeff. I still enjoyed it for what it is. I think it's shot well. I mean, that it definitely makes vans with creepy purple lighting. It makes me want to stay away from those. It's not like one of those, you know, where it's a white van. You automatically know somebody's going to
with a clothes rack in it.
With clothes, yeah. It's like, it's very weird. Like, it's what is the movie where you go into the closet into another world? But as for favorite scene, I think I mentioned it earlier. It's the scene where she pleads for her life, and she talks. Scene. Yeah, I mean, she's. And I don't. Are both those actresses not deaf?
I don't know. There's not. They hadn't.
I will say it made me believe they were deaf. So I think they did an amazing performance. They're not deaf, but I think her pleading, when she's pleading for her life and saying, "Hey, there's still experiences I want to experience. You know, I want a good man. I want to have 2 kids. please allow me to do that. And it's heartbreaking. She's got tears and she's signing it. And it's like, oh God, you feel for this character. She's really like hoping that he'll, but he has no sympathy for anybody. He's a bastard and he deserves to die. So yeah, I think that's my favorite scene.
Very good. Very good. So one last thing I'll ask you guys. The lead actor, Ha-Jun, was also in Squid Games, which a lot of our listeners probably watched. So how was his acting?
He played a good evil dude.
Well, he plays a guy that could switch on and off. Because there's moments where he's acting like the nice guy, and then he can look at him and like, or just there's that one part where he whispers to that drunk dude. It's like, both of my parents are dead. Fuck you. So yeah, I think he does a really great job of playing sort of a creepy killer dude.
Nice.
He was in Ganjam Haunted Asylum. Ganjam.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch that.
Yeah.
I'll have to seek that out.
There you go. All right. Well, that's our review for Midnight. It is coming your way from Dread Presents. I think it has an April on a digital release, and then it has a May Blu-ray release. So look for it then. So catch it when you are able, and leave us a comment down below. So
yeah, let us know what you think.
Christopher,
Good
Jeff,
fun.
thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Always fun.
Good to be back.
Yes, I'm happy to have you back, sir. Very happy.
So am I. Thank you.
All right. Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.